We don't weed anyone out. They weed themselves out. We don't we don't make them quit. They quit. They jump in the transfer portal.
And Rich Rodriguez just shipped out 30 players. Merry transfer portal to all that celebrated. And while we know this time to be extremely hectic, and if you're a fan of college football, a little bit nervous as you're hoping that your favorite player stays locked in on your favorite team. So today what we're going to do is kind of take a peek at some of the bigger, crazier stories in the transfer portal, because I guarantee you there's going to be another crazy story a la Nico, which has already taken over the transfer portal. So before we get there, let's go step by step and look at some of the nastiest portal. If we have time, we're going to talk about one of the craziest portal stories in general and how it relates to Deion Sanders in Colorado. I know y'all hate it, but we ain't going to get there for a second. So let's hop right into it. Before we do anything, let's read this stat here. And I've read this in another video too. More than 1,000 players entered the transfer portal on day one. Look, I am an advocate for the portal. I'm an advocate for NIL. I love that these kids have the freedom to move, the freedom to get the money, the freedom to do whatever it is that they need to do. However, if we're not looking at this as it's a problem, I don't know how we can look at it. So 1,000 players in, and of course, the player that is on there has a story of himself. So Micah Hudson, who was a true freshman last year for Texas Tech, was supposed to be this dominant, I believe, five-star high school recruit, was in playing with Texas Tech, didn't have the best year, but again, true freshman, you're not expected to do much. Enters the transfer portal and says, I'm going on to bigger and better, more uglier maroon things with Texas A&M. I hate an Aggie. And then after being with Texas A&M, it then leaves the team and then enters the portal again. So there's been a lot of these stories. In fact, you can look at this story out of Kentucky. I believe he's going back to Kentucky. This is a Nebraska transfer who hopped in the portal and then after the spring, now in this new window, went back to Kentucky. So it's a lot of craziness, man. It's a lot of hopping and flopping and popping. But one that is just pure crazy is Mr. Jonte Cook, the initially Texas recruit, right, who's had some looks at a few different places and spaces. Even Colorado was recruiting them at one time. He was dismissed from Washington just, I think, 2 weeks after being on campus. So I don't know exactly what he did, but he followed that up with having a few arrests too. He got arrested in back-to-back weeks in Texas, so it's not looking the best or the greatest for what Jonte Cook's got cooking right now, but he's officially back in the transfer portal. Those things that when he got arrested, they were just misdemeanors, so you got to kind of hope that everything's kind of smooth and everything's kind of where they need to be, but it's just a very, very interesting conversation to have when we talk about somebody like Jonte Cook, who was supposed to be like a top-tier wide receiver, didn't make it at Texas. You get dismissed from Texas, quote-unquote, because he wasn't technically dismissed. But then you go to Washington, and you can't even make it there for longer than 2 weeks. Like, what did he do in 2 weeks to make it that crazy? And then you get the misdemeanors and stuff like that. He's not set up for success, but he's officially back in the portal. So we'll check that out and see what's going on. This is more of a fun one. The coldest to ever do it, Crawford, has entered the transfer portal. Originally, he was in Nebraska, if I'm not mistaken, there. And everybody knows him from this elite NIL deal. What's it called? The coolest.
I'm so glad we called SOS our oldest.
I'm always the coldest.
SOS to the rescue.
Hey, this is Dakota Crawford, wide receiver from Louisiana, now playing in Lincoln. When your AC isn't the coldest, you call SOS Heating and Cooling. Their techs don't make commissions, so they give you an honest opinion, fair pricing, and longer warranties than the competition guaranteed. Take it from the coldest. We will keep you cool this summer.
So we know, obviously, the kid's got a legendary name. He was made for NIL, but it seems like he hasn't really gotten to play. Originally, like I said, at Nebraska, and this was back in 2022, right? So he's been playing football for a while now. It's been about good 3 years, and he hasn't been able to do much of anything in a very long time, sadly, for the coldest. But again, he's a world and a wealth of a lot of different opportunities when it comes to NIL. So let's talk about these two quarterbacks, which is probably the craziest stories of the transfer portal. And that's now Cal quarterback in Jiren Kiwi. And then, of course, we have former Georgia, former Arizona State quarterback, Mr. Jaden Rashada. Now, we've done plenty of videos on Jaden Rashada. We're not going to be here too long, but because the Nico Amavela, Nico, I'm not gonna disrespect your family's name, Nico. because that situation, obviously things have changed where the only person that is still in the same team within this top 8 is Arch Manning. Hook 'em horn, son. So you got Nico, who's out in limbo in the transfer portal, who's supposedly going to find a home out in UCLA. I'm not going to make another video until we confirm that because, you know how it is. People just saying people going places. Dante Moore, speaking of UCLA, who was at UCLA and then transferred to Oregon. Mr. Jackson Arnold, who was a redshirt freshman, I believe, last year at Oklahoma, now going over to Auburn. Auburn has been in a limbo for a while. Malachi Nelson, originally of UTEP, originally of SC, now at UTEP, and then Jaden Rashada, originally of ASU, now in the transfer portal. ASU and Florida, obviously, because he sued Florida. And then let's just read it right here. So, four-star recruit in the class of 2023. In June 2022, he committed to Miami, then decommitted, and then November he committed to UF, and then 2022 he signed with Florida. In January 2023, leaves Florida. In February, commits to Arizona State. April 2024, enters transfer portal, commits to Georgia, and then May sues Florida over NIL. Now back in the transfer portal in January and April of 2025. As last as we checked, he has visited Western Kentucky, right? Western Kentucky. So, quite a fall from grace, if that's even what you want to call it, because he just doesn't seem to be able to find a team, right? So I don't know. We'll kind of stay on that, and whenever I hopefully finds a team, we're going to be the first to talk about it. So let's kind of slow it down here. Speaking about Cal, now if you don't remember the Jiren Kiwi situation, right? I'm going to go really quickly with it. He was originally committed to Oregon. Not only committed to Oregon, but traveled with Oregon when they had their playoff a bowl game. So he was there. He was on location. He was playing. He was doing it. It was on campus for, if I'm not mistaken, 14 days. And after those 14 days, and I assume realizing that he was not going to get to start over the names like Dante Moore, he said, I'm getting up out of there. And he did just that. He got up out of there after signing and then hops in the portal and is now with Cal, who he was originally committed with. And something to kind of to keep. And again, we're not going to go deeper in the stories. I just want to make sure that you know the story at the end of the portal. We'll recap because we'll see, hey, maybe there's a reason for this. But right now, Cal is losing a lot of running backs. Cal lost, I think, 3 running backs already to the transfer portal, including Jaden Ott, right? And Jaden Ott is already linked in with the Oklahoma Sooners. Nobody's happy about that except Sooner fans, right? But hey, Red River gonna be something. Okay, Red River gonna be something. So he's already found his place. Cal's losing a lot of running backs, and I think that's interesting because he was the number 1 running back in the portal at the time when he announced it. So clearly a lot of talent being lost there at Cal. So how has Jiren Kiwi been doing things? So these are 2 quick little interviews we're going to hear from him, kind of speaking on where he needs to grow the most and also about being an early enrollee and what that's kind of been doing for him as well. So let's check on how he's been feeling at Cal.
Getting to be in Berkeley, what's something that's going to stand out from this semester, I guess you could say?
Just how fast you have to mature. Especially just coming right out of high school. There's a lot of things you need to work on, with just not even just football, just in life in general. You're living on your own away from your parents. It's a little tough at first, but if you love the game, you love the process. So I'm just enjoying it, and it's just been fun.
Can you get into the summer?
Definitely footwork, timing, and just continue to strengthen my arm and just continue to work on that touch. Just continue to learn coverages, and
This might be a silly question, but you obviously graduated.
So that's interesting to hear from him. It's good to hear that he's got a bit of clearly some humility there, right? And clearly some understanding of what it's going to take to be successful at the next level, ideally, right? And I'm really hoping the best for him. I'm hoping that all this craziness of transferring back and forth, I'm hoping it becomes less of an actual story, right? And he just settles into Cal and hope that Cal, figures stuff out because they were a decently, the Cal algorithm was a fun time last year. I don't know if you remember last season, but that was a very fun time. Cal kind of aided in making last season even more fun than it already was. So, hoping for great things from Cal, hoping they can take those next steps and, maybe figure something out. Maybe Jiren is the key to that. Now it's time to get petty. Now, why are we getting petty? Because in the first day of the transfer portal, Mr. Rich Rodriguez, who is, just to make sure that we're all good, a former West Virginia head coach, by the way, to be more specific, right? He gets in the portal, and in the first day of the spring portal, 30 players are gone. Now, just before we go to here, because we're going to talk about when Deion Sanders got grilled for having 18 players in 3 weeks. 18 players in 3 weeks, and they was treating him like he was killing college football. But let's hear from Rich Rodriguez. And also, I want to hear a little bit, not that I want to hear from him, but we're going to hear also from Pac-Man. They got some things to say. Rich Rodriguez is one of those soldiers who doesn't know that the war is over and they lost. So this is talking about, maybe this is the reason why so many people left. Rich Rodriguez apparently banned some TikTok dances. And then you got Ryan Decker from what we've seen today. We have a effing football team. Now, this was April 5th. So this is before 30 more players into the portal. Maybe that was just backups. But let's hear about him banning TikTok
in your
dances.
tights, dancing on TikTok ain't quite the image of our program. Like I said, 20 years from now, they want to be sitting in their pajamas in the basement, eating Cheetos and watching TikTok or whatever the hell they can go at it. Smoking cannabis, whatever.
Pablo, can Rich Rodriguez ban his players from dancing on TikTok?
Rich Rodriguez is one of those soldiers who doesn't know that the war is over and that they lost. Still wandering the earth trying to complain about all of this stuff, weed being legal and people dancing on cell phones. Sorry, dude, it feels very 2015.
Yeah, it does seem very boring and very tired. Hey, nobody's doing those TikTok dances. Well, you might lose about 30 people in the portal if they can't get their TikTok dances off. So let's hear it from a West Virginia great, an NFL great, and how he sees things, Mr. Pac-Man Jones.
Just your thoughts on...
Hey, I'm happy Rich Rodriguez is back. Hey, it's a great day in West Virginia, a little cloudy, a little rain, but from what we've seen today, we have a football team here in Morgantown, West Virginia. It's a proud day to be a Mountaineer. I'm so excited for Rich Rod to be back. I think we're going in the right directions.
What does it mean to you as a former player to see him back on this field finally?
Well, I know what he did for me, and I was a knucklehead with a lot of talent. So first and foremost, he know how to handle top athletes, and he gonna coach everybody the same, and you're gonna work. We work here. That's one thing about coming to Morgantown, all the glitz and glamour. Yeah, that's cool. But once you come in here and put on this blue and gold, we expect you. We shouldn't have to judge your effort, is what I'm saying in so many words. So I'm happy that Rod is here.
He said back in December that all former players are welcome. I mean, you're not even close to being the only former player here. There's a lot of you guys here today. What does it mean to have someone who's going to welcome everybody back with open arms?
I'm just happy that the guys that don't have the big names are welcome back. You know what I mean? They've always taken great care of me here. I'm probably pivotal or top who's who as far as coming to West Virginia, but it's good to see a lot of guys back. It's good to see the culture back. It's good to see the fans get to come on the field, fans calling plays, and last but not least, the traditional of the way we do things around here. It even started at the warm-up. Those guys haven't got the warm-up yet, but they'll get it, you know what I mean? And when you're doing stuff as far as ritual and you got the coaches and the players, I think everything will work out. It might take us a year, but I think you got to look at it like this, bro. Rich went down to the smallest D1 and made sugar out of So you can't tell me that we can get to a level where these guys are getting paid.
Hey, I wish I could show you this video because I don't know what the copyright is. Actually, probably now the video's gone. But this boy got the biggest lip dipping I've ever seen in my life, son. Gosh darn it. That dude definitely died in here in Morgantown. So West Virginia, 30 players in the portal. Yet I don't see no coverage like this. I don't see no coverage of bro tips or dude Bible. We know what y'all do. We know what y'all niggas is. 18 players in 3 weeks. Oh my God. They claim it's not a big deal. Mass exodus from Colorado. Yikes. Colorado's AD Rick George had to answer to it. Supports Coach Deion Sanders despite players' mass exodus.
A lot of people say they don't want the attention, but then they really do want the attention. I understand what he's saying. I love him as a player. I love him as a human being, as a man. He works his butt off. He don't make many mistakes. He's where he's supposed to be, and he gets the job done. He's going to have an opportunity to play this game for us. He will not. We will not get rid of him. I'm telling you that right now. He will be here. I like that kid.
Okay, one more. Go ahead back there. Tony Gorman, Colorado Public Radio. Thank you, Coach. Question, you've talked about the transfer portal when you first got here. We've gone through National Signing Days, 2 phases of that. Now we're in spring practice towards the end, so to speak. What's the traffic been like for the transfer portal?
Good.
How many people have left?
Well,
how many
for us,
people come in?
or
Yes, well, both ways. How many people, since you talked about, the transfer portal and people go ahead hopping in during spring practice, how many people have you weeded out? How many people are coming in?
What do you see? We don't weed anyone out. They weed themselves out. We don't we don't make them quit. They quit. Or I don't want to say quit. They jump in the transfer portal. You call that what you want. Okay? Before a national televised game, before a sellout crowd. So you call it what you want. Okay? So it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
Thanks, Coach.
Let me complete that. We're not upset that anybody jumped in the portal and left. Okay? And we're elated that the young men that we have coming in, because they're difference makers. They're truly difference makers. And we're not trying to find anyone in the portal that's going to come and occupy space. We're looking for go-getters. Mama savers, daddy savers. We're looking.
I should probably unmute my mic. I'm sorry. I hope I edited that. I hope I changed that up. How much did I miss? I don't know. But what I was saying was, I'm not going to say the other reasons why it's interesting that going from 30 transfers, in a day, and 18 transfers in 3 weeks, like we have to sit down and really tell ourselves, like, Deion Sanders is a real deal game changer, right? He's a real deal trailblazer. He's a changer of the way that we look at the transfer portal, and he had to take those lashings because he was the first person to do it, right? It was a new style, a new thing. So many people leaving. I think people are just numb to these transfer portal numbers, but also I think it has to do with who he is. I think the way that he went about it, and I'm about to change everything. It's about to be quick. People like to doubt people too. It's easy when someone says I'm gonna do something great to point it out and say, well, I mean, the odds of that happening, right? One of my favorite quotes, it's not really a quote, it's more of like a statistic thing, and it's like kind of how I look at certain things. It's like how everyone is confident in your team. How many of y'all are going to put $100 on your team to win the Super Bowl right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, and what I mean is, like, everybody can say this, it's bad, it's this, or you can even say how great something is. Oh, well, Deion Sanders don't have to get out. Okay, we'll put $100 million, not $100 million, but put $100 on the team you think and the coach you think's got it right against the field, against everybody other possibility. If you think that they're the ones, they're the ones. And obviously not the same one on the scale, but what I mean is, like, I get what you're saying. I get that you think that it's not going to look a certain way, but people get uncomfortable when things are done the wrong way. But now that Deion's done it, now that we've seen people hop in portals, now that we've seen Kurt Signetti take 77 people with him, you know what I'm saying? Same thing going to happen on with Southern Miss and Marshall, and we'll check back in on our Tudor's Biscuits gentlemen too as well. It's just interesting. The landscape continues to change, and people's opinions on how they treat people and how they treat certain scenarios is changing too. So, hey, man, y'all let me know. These are the wildest stories of the transfer portal. As we get into the portal, when we get to the end of it, there's going to be even more. I'll continue to report on other nasty, crazy transfer portal, NIL stuff, Nico updates, everything else in between, man. So like the video if you like it, dislike if you don't like it, subscribe if you like any of these types of things, man. We'll see you next time, man.